This award has changed its name from its initial draft in 1984 because, of course, originally it was the Mother Maria de Mattias Award, and the award has remained the same, but the honor, we believe, is all that much more enriched by Maria's subsequent canonization and sainthood. This award continues to honor alums who display a deep loyalty to Newman University and its mission through their stewardship and Catholic life. I did notice a couple of recipients of this award, one in the mirror on the drive out here. The other, J.V. Johnston, you've received this award. Shirley Reed. Shirley's there. Who did I miss? Destined to attend Sacred Heart College, the mother of this year's St. Maria de Mattias Award winner actually attended here in the 1940s. There's been a family connection ever since. This year's recipient graduated in 1970 from Sacred Heart College. Her son, Dell, was a communication major and graduated from Newman. Her daughters, Maria and Erin, also attended. I think Erin has been teaching American history at Newman as an adjunct professor for more than 8 years. She's even written a historiography on the Beatles, which is my segue into telling you that this year's recipient has had a long and winding road in Catholic education. And those here during her days as a teacher and a counselor are certainly the better for it. Let's learn more about the 2018 St. Maria de Mattias Alumni Award winner.
Catholic education has played an integral role in the life of Liana Torkelson, from her own schooling to her professional career, and even now in retirement. Liana's father was the driving force in her Catholic formation.
First of all, he would have preferred all of us to have gone to the convent. He wanted 4 nuns if he could have gotten them. He had a sister, Sister Benigna, who was a Dominican nun, and she was the head of St. Catherine Hospital, administrative head of St. Catherine's Hospital in Garden City. And so he saw that she had a wonderful education, she had risen to a position of prominence, and she was able to travel. So Dad thought, wow, this is the best of all worlds. All of my girls should go to the convent.
Dad did get his wish with his oldest daughter, Sister Celeste Albers, a Dominican nun in Great Bend. But Liana knew she had a different calling. Dad still insisted on Catholic instruction, so sent her sight unseen to the all-girls St. Scholastica Academy in Atchison. Homesick, she had a terrible time and lasted just a year.
I feel that if one nun had ever come up to me in my freshman year and said to me, Liana, we want you here. You're an important asset to this school. I know you're homesick, but I can help you with that. Let's visit about it a little bit. Get you involved in some things while you're here. I think I would have stayed.
That experience would stick with Liana and help her later in her professional career. But all her father knew was that she wasn't going to go to the local public school in Kingman. Instead, it was off to Dodge City and St. Mary's of the Plains, a co-ed school where she flourished. Liana developed a love for reading, English, and working on the student newspaper. She brought those passions to Sacred Heart College when she arrived on campus in 1966.
Then my sophomore year, I became an RA, and I enjoyed being an RA. In that capacity, I was able to help other young women as they made their adjustment to college and sort of listen to their difficulties and challenges and try to help in whatever way I could.
Thanks to faculty members Jean Lamar in journalism and Sister Hilary in English, among others, Liana was empowered to explore her 2 favorite academic areas. An internship at the Wichita Eagle solidified her belief that while attractive, the press was not the right fit. But Sister Hilary's suggestion to take a trip to England and study British literature Along with a graduation trip from her father, a wonderful teaching career was launched.
It was quite the trip, and I came home feeling really excited about teaching English. And I was hired at Augusta High School. And I had 3 classes of British literature and 3 of American literature, and I loved those subjects. I was just really on fire to teach.
Although Liana loved teaching, after she got married and then later became a parent, she made the decision to leave the full-time classroom to raise her children. Over the years, she would eventually return to teaching, but began feeling a pull to serve as a school counselor. And in 1989, at a time she was about to leave education completely, Liana received an opportunity to return to Catholic education as a high school guidance counselor. She would spend the next 25 years at Kapaun Mt. Carmel.
I thought, isn't this awesome that I can walk in the door and go to Mass before I start my day? I could tell I was a whole different person when I had the Mass there first, because then I could really work at living what I had prayed in the morning. And I think the students could tell it too.
Liana would counsel students to pray about big decisions, like where to attend college. She encouraged students to develop a plan B and to be the most well-rounded, unique person possible.
Make yourself as unusual as you can be so that you don't fit that one mold that everybody else fits. And the students, they listened well, and many of them did begin taking classes that they had really sort of shied away from in the beginning.
Liana's plan B, shifting from teaching English to serving as a school counselor, has enriched the lives of hundreds of young people she helped in her time at Kapaun. And in retirement, her role as a counselor continues as volunteer at St. James School in Augusta, this year helping a 7-year-old girl whose mother died.
And my heart just broke for her, because my own mother lost her mom at age 3. And I just felt like, yes, this is something I need to do. So I told Mr. Guy I would come on Friday afternoons. And then pretty soon he called again, and he said, I have another young man his parents are going through a divorce. And he is very, very sad. He's even crying in Mass in the mornings.
Some people have told her she should charge for her services, but Liana says being able to make a difference is payment enough.
He came up to me and he gave me a hug and he said, "You always make me feel better."
And payoff, right?
Oh, that's all I needed. That's all I needed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Liana Torkelson, this year's recipient of the St. Maria de Mattias Award.
I want to thank Newman University for this honor, and certainly the sisters that I worked with while I was here, or that helped me so much while I was here. Sister Thomasine Steckline, she was chairman of the education department at that time, and Jean Loebmeyer and Sister Hillary, who guided me through my degree in English and my minor in psychology and secondary education. And I am very grateful to Sister Delphine. She inspired me so much in her philosophy classes. I took every philosophy class that Newman had to offer. She really helped in molding my character. And so with their guidance, I decided to become an English and psychology teacher instead of a newspaper reporter. And I spent the first 10 years of my teaching career at Augusta High School. And I taught English and psychology. And then later, after leaving high school teaching, I taught at Brown Mackie College in Salina and Butler Community College at night. And in those years, though, however, I became increasingly disenchanted with public education, because as I saw that I could not mention the name of God or talk about the Lord Jesus, I felt like I could not continue teaching in that kind of atmosphere. So I was ready to leave education entirely when I attended a church dinner in 1989. And I was seated across a man named from Mark Carney, and he taught he worked at Kapaun, and he told me about a counseling position, and I had gotten a counseling degree at WSU. And he said, if you apply for that job, I think that it would be yours. So I applied, and in 1989 was hired as a counselor at Kapaun Mt. Carmel Catholic High School in Wichita. And Kapaun's mission statement says that it is dedicated to the education and formation of the total person in the image of Jesus Christ. That formation piece is what makes Catholic education different. I think we see in our world today how much formation is needed. Christian formation, Catholic formation. Many schools educate, but few form. How can a teacher form students if he or she cannot mention God or use prayer? Of course, his or her example can be one method of forming students. Holding up outstanding human role models is another means of forming students. But trying to teach character formation without mentioning Christ or God is truly frustrating and nearly impossible. I am so grateful that I was hired at Kapaun Mt. Carmel, and I worked there for 25 years. I believe even the Kapaun community receives this award along with me tonight. They challenged me to be the Catholic educator that I grew to be during my time there. And I want to thank my husband and my children for being there for me too, because I did take a cut in pay to work at a Catholic school. Many times my husband drove me back into Wichita for all the night things that I needed to be at. We live in Augusta, and of course Kapaun is here in Wichita. And he also listened to my many triumphs and difficulties. So the counselor had a counselor, which was awesome and needed. And I do leave you with one request. Please pray for all our teachers. I can tell you, I never thought when I entered education in 1970 that I would have to think about practicing for a school shooting. I never thought that somebody might say, would you be a teacher who would do concealed carry? That was totally off my radar. And I wish it could be off the radar for all of our teachers. So I ask all of us to pray for our teachers. They are educating and forming our young people for the future. Pray that they have the courage and wisdom, the self-discipline and perseverance to carry out the most difficult job. And pray that they turn to the master teacher, Jesus Christ himself, to become the teacher they need to be. And that many, many people will want to go into education. You know, teaching is becoming one of those fields that nobody wants to enter because you need hazardous pay. You know, you're laying your life on the line when you go to teach. And of course, we always laid our lives on the line. But now, I mean, they are really laying down their lives in many cases for their very students. And so I ask us all to pray for our teachers. And I thank Newman for this wonderful award, and I truly appreciate all that Newman has done for me. Thank you.